Hi, everyone. My name is Habiba Ibrahim. I am currently an administrative assistant at a preschool and daycare. My personal educational goals is to complete my bachelor's in early childhood education and also earn my director's credential at a class that I'll be attending later this summer. I am taking this course because one, it's a requirement, of course, but also because in the area where I work at, where my job is located in BVL in Kissimmee, there are a lot of students that mainly speak Spanish and that are English language learners. They come from home to school not knowing not one word of English, not understanding. So I feel like through taking this class, I can apply the practices and the principles that I've learned on teaching emergent bilingual students and English language learners and better put those practices and principles to use in helping them learn effectively and learning efficiently while staying at the same pace, at the same level as those children who are English language speakers. I believe that this course will help me in my career and practice, as I just formally stated, that I can use it and apply it into the real world. I also believe that this course can help me in the future as I want to own my own childcare center, especially within this area, because it has a lot of children that are looking for early childhood education and care, and it could help me better prepare them for school and help them through these practices and applying these principles. One thing about me is that I have two cats, and I live with my fiance. My cat's name is Goku, and he's 6 weeks. And then my other cat's name is Ash, and he's 1 year old. I'm Puerto Rican and Egyptian. I myself was an English language learner as a child. I grew up speaking Arabic and Spanish at the same time, so it's kind of confusing, and I struggled a lot in school. But here I am. So as for my reflection on the readings, there was a couple of topics that I wanted to talk about it, and a lot of things that stood out to me within these readings. So I'm going to just go through each reading that stood out to me. So for Nieto's Honoring Lives of Children, I liked how she discussed at-risk children and how that being at risk does not necessarily mean that you should be, it's not necessarily a way of placing students. It's how it was stated that at risk is how we view students, not how they should be placed. For me, I believe that I agree with this statement, and that just because a child is at risk, that does not mean that we should place them all together, because they could be at risk and have different levels of academic and standings and different level of development. At-risk students, they can overcome their hardships sometimes, and sometimes may have developed adequately academically and even social emotionally in other domains, while other students, it may have been harder for them to overcome these hardships and they still may be developmentally delayed. So we should look at at-risk children not as needing help necessarily, but we should fully assess them and ensure and find a good place for them. It's more of a label rather than a placement. In regards to Nieto's Teaching, Caring, and Transformation article journal, they had said that teaching required a deep level of care. I believe that it is, especially in early childhood education, it is crucially important to form a connection with your students, as it makes them feel welcomed and safe. And this can help them be able to learn effectively and adequately as they feel safe and they are ready to learn. They're in the mindset of, okay, I could do this. This also plays a role in being culturally responsive and using development appropriate practices that are sensitive to a child's culture, language, community, and age. By having a deep level of care and understanding about a student, you can cater more to their needs. You can make them feel safe and welcomed. It was also said that one of the first lessons that Nieto described was knowing and questioning oneself. This can tie into determining if one is truly unbiased and if you don't blindly stereotype your students. blindly stereotyping your students can lead to a lot of issues and making them feel unwelcomed and unsafe, which can also hinder their development. As I recently stated before, that you're playing a role by being culturally responsive. It brings me to the second lesson she learned, which was that educators need to learn about their students. This shows that not only do you need to learn about their background, but you need to learn how do they learn best? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? And this also goes back to the statement I made earlier about at-risk students. Better knowing your students and where they stand academically can help you better cater to their needs, whether they're English language learners or not. And finally, she had mentioned that as a teacher, you should develop allies. This is very important, especially when working with English language learners, as you can work with different departments and different teachers, different professionals, really, that can provide aid and insight. They can give you experience and advice. They can serve as a resource to better help you. They can give you different ideas of if you're having an issue, of how to go about it, how to address it. In response to the Florida LULAC consent decree, one thing that really stood out to me was that the process that was similar to English language learners was really similar and kind of reflected some of the values that I see in developing an IEP. When it came to the home language survey, it kind of mirrored, not completely, it was obviously different, but you can kind of see how it mirrors each other with the referral and evaluation process of the IEP, and also the English language assessment, how that kind of mirrors evaluations. It was also said that there's an English language committee, and this kind of mirrors the IEP meeting process, where it has different professionals that come in and help the parent, the teachers, and the student. And then you have the ELL student plan, which is kind of like the IEP, as it caters to the child's needs, monitors their progress, and best helps them achieve academic excellence. In response to Nito's multilingualism video, the phrase that really stood out to me was that multilingualism is an asset, not a deficit. She really stressed this point throughout her video when speaking about English language learners, such as a Spanish-speaking student and one that was an English language-speaking student. Just because someone may not speak English does not mean that they do not have language. They have language, like she said. It's just a different language. And you need to focus on what they can do rather than what they can't do. You have to look at what they have, because you have to look at the strengths and the positives to better help the child move forward rather than focus on the negatives, as it can sometimes make the child feel down, or it can make them kind of fall back and hinder their development. This you can also see this example in children, such as children in my work. I have children that come that are Spanish-speaking students that they don't speak not one lick of English, but they can understand it. So we can use the strength of comprehension and help turn that into speaking the language, rather than focusing on, oh, they can't speak it. In response to the Florida consent decree video, it was mentioned that there was a lack of training when teaching English language learners, and this, for me, this stressed Nito's lesson of developing allies and forming relationships, because they could provide experience and insights and give you different tricks and principles that you can use. It also mentioned making materials accessible to English language learners. This can provide meaningful learning for these students and for these emergent bilingual students. And it's crucial to effectively accommodate them so that they can learn adequately and effectively. And yeah, thank you.